It's been 4.5 years since ARK's last actual story DLC map, 7 years since its last chronological story map launched, and 10 years since ARK's initial early access launch. So it's fair to consider there's a lot of you that either haven't played ARK for a while, took a break whilst awaiting a new story map, or maybe just getting into it that you need a quick catch up before you tread snow on the gothic themed bridge to connect a lot of missing gaps between your survivors' first steps on sandy dinosaur beaches to hyperspeed fueled life vessels searching for sequel calling planets. It's worth noting we're not going to go too lore heavy with this one, but fill in the pieces on your survivor. What led you to Lost Colony, what you're meant to be doing, and what characters you should have known before landing on Arat Prime, the side name of where the map is set. Grab that narcoberry flavoured popcorn, sit back, relax, and let Raasclark tell you all about it, starting way back at the beach.
If our identity is defined by our actions, then what is yours? Are you one who engages in fisticuffs with helpless trees? No. What defines you is that you try again. Should you starve? You try again. Should you fall from a cliff? You try again. Should you be digested by some magnificent predator? You try again. And now Earth, humanity, life. You can give all of it the chance to try again too. Because you and all your siblings who fell from the sky are the ones who try again.
Waking up, respawned, you've already been briefed by some apparition informing you to explore, make allies with creatures, grow strength and skill, and piece together a way to find whoever they may be, tasked as the one who tries again. And you'll do just that, surrounded by all manner of prehistoric life, with its own ecosystem of herbivores and carnivores, surrounded by seemingly vast spaces of sea, encompassing a collection of regions to formally call itself the island. As you learn to survive the harsh temperatures and death cycle repeating monsters, you'll quickly realise 3 giant alien-like structures hovering over the map, naturally drawing you to investigate these closer. And upon visiting one, you'll discover these obelisks each command a terminal, asking of you tributes to attain and face one of 3 guardians, the Broodmother, Megapithecus, and Dragon. And so you'll set out building, taming, breeding, and adventuring to discover all of the map's life forms and all of the 10 artifact caves, battling through each with gear rewarded to you from beacons falling from the sky. Before long, you'll run into an explorer note, a recording left from previous adventurers documenting their discoveries to help educate you on every dinosaur, their findings, but more importantly, their interactions with other explorer note leading survivors. Look, there's a lot of side characters with this as we go on, but there's 3 main characters to really focus on. Yeah, I know there's one other, but you know, let's focus on these 3 for now. Helena Walker, an Australian 21st century biologist and paleontologist. Mei Yin Lee, a Three Kingdoms era ancient Chinese warrior, and Edmund Rockwell, a 19th century London chemist. Each explaining their own paths, guiding you to understand the island isn't quite what it seems, if that wasn't obvious enough. With circle of life imbalance, the obvious alien architecture seen within each cave, and the barrier walls preventing you from exploring further. You'll learn that originally Helena and Edmund were the best of friends, sharing their science over tea, keeping in touch as they too tamed creatures and learnt how to survive. Helena would eventually meet with Mei Yin with a fascination for taming and would eventually bond over their love of creatures. And as quickly as jealousy arrives, Edmund's hearsay distaste for Mei Yin's barbaric ways would grow to hate as he learnt of them activating an obelisk for their first Guardian fight without inviting him. I would be too. And naturally so, as he became obsessed in learning more of the obelisks and the secrets of the volcano. because at the very top of the peak, surrounded by lava, you'd discover a giant door with its own tribute requirements, the head of each guardian. So with a clear goal, you'd eventually breed and saddle strong enough tames to face each one, rewarded once slain to take those heads and your army of dinos to brave the entrance and open the door to the Tech Cave. A winding tunnel of punishment which would eventually find one last terminal to teleport you to the observation station. A vessel high above the island, revealing you were being watched this entire time, with creatures and humans on some form of cycle along with a very different form of human you might recall. As you stepped foot into the arena, you'd get brief glimpses to realise the island you were on this entire time was one of thousands of different arks, all floating in space outside of Earth's orbit, before the overseer of your ark would reveal itself as your final challenge to defeat. Once conquered, your reward would be Ascension, propelling you into space, evolving that strange implant in your arm and sending you on to the next ark to challenge you once again. But not before being greeted by that apparition once again, congratulating you, but explaining who they really were. Helena, whose footsteps you're tasked to follow as she once did the same, but perhaps not quite exactly how you ascended. See, she travelled through the Tech Cave just like you, along with Mei Yin, and just before in pursuit of Edmund Rockwell and a fourth island character with an army of survivors, Roman Centurion Gaius Marcellus Nerva. There you go, lore nerds, don't panic. With his first look at a new material called Element, Rockwell would accidentally ascend off first, but before Helena could, Mei Yin knocked Helena the fuck out so she could duel Nerva for killing her tames much earlier, and by the time Helena woke up, they had gone, leaving Helena to ascend alone to Scorched Earth. A severely punishing map introducing you to now not only prehistoric creatures but fantasy-filled ones too, filling a desert-worn ark battled by weather, but with again the same three obelisks just like you'd seen on the island. Knowing the drill now and once learning how to survive these new dangers, you'd find a much easier path to Ascension here, with only 3 artifacts and 1 guardian to beat. Easy as that. And as you'd explore to find your new artifact caves, you'd find even more explorer notes, with alongside a bunch of map-specific side characters, Helena and Edmund once again documenting their tales here. Spawning in far from each other, Helena began to learn more about the nature of arcs, with yet another barrier preventing escape, whilst Rockwell, committed absolute genocide in his thirst to learn more about Element. Eventually they found each other, sent through another tech cave our survivors would never see, to reach another Ascension terminal that, through some debate, sided with Edmund's desire to travel to the element-rich Aberration. And take a guess where we're ascending to next. But what about Mei Yin? Well, she ascended straight to Aberration along with a sword-stabbed and dead Nerva to land on the surface and barely escape the flaming, unprotected obelisk regions to run into 2 new main characters. Santiago Camargo, a Brazilian Terran Federation hacker from Earth in a future we'd yet to learn, and Diana Altaraz, a Jewish United Republics of Earth orbital strike fighter pilot, also from a future Earth, the 22nd century. Both the Terran Federation and United Republics of Earth are kind of pivotal to this story, so bear with me on that one. With their advanced knowledge of tech along with their tribe, and before Mei Yin's arrival, were the ones responsible for its lack of surface protection, literally blowing up the Overseer Arena to hide away underground from the now malfunctioning broken station, and why it doesn't look like the previous 2 regular domed arcs we've known so far. So in some other attempt to escape off the arcs and reach Earth, they made a gateway project portal that you've likely spawned into viewing when ascending here, but with not nearly as clear an objective. Now seeing the obelisks were nigh on unreachable, you'd instead learn to delve deeper, encountering even more fantastical beasts now, and learning how to survive the deep hazardous environments to find yet a brand new terminal, with again 3 artifacts to collect, but a familiar sounding name instead being your guardian boss encounter. See, upon Helena and Edmund arriving there, eventually was saved from a tech suit wearing Mei Yin, who'd learnt a lot in her time here from the Diana-led tech tribe, taking a bit of a liking to Diana to help them get off Aberration. But with everything Helena had learnt of ARKs and how obelisks protect leaving them, urged to go investigate them further along with Mei Yin and Santiago, discovering a new way to teleport to a new station at the heart of the ARK that unveiled their existence. Matrix-like pods littering the walls filled with Homo sapien clones alongside the creatures they'd encountered too. Meanwhile, Edmund Rockwell became increasingly obsessed with Element, studying and performing experiments until injecting himself with the stuff. Yeah. Turning into his monstrous Rockwell form, Edmund killed the entire Tech tribe and yes, including Diana. Enraged, Helena and Mei Yin chased down Rockwell to think they had killed him, but falling deep into the ARK's cave system, he festered and grew to integrate himself as the new overseer, seeing that the Tech tribe had blown it up earlier. And that's where you come in, to beat Rockwell in his mutilated form before using the portal to send you back to Earth, the same way Helena, Mei Yin and Santiago had before you. But it wasn't quite the Earth we were expecting. Landing in the same Extinction wastelands as our protagonists, we'd discover the Sanctuary, one of the last remaining human cities surrounded by smaller proto-ARKs, corrupted variants of the creatures we'd encountered so far, giant kaiju-sized titans, but no human life to find, only, once again, notes explaining what had happened here. Setting up Camp Omega at the heart of Sanctuary, Santiago got straight to work building mechs as deterrents against these giant titans, and, conveniently, were well adapted for all three of them, with Helena in particular possessing some bizarrely high synchronization. During a large-scale attack on Camp Omega, Santiago split off from the group defending against the corrupted, falling in the midst of battle, whilst Helena and Mei Yin followed a signal out in the deep wastelands to discover a monolithic structure hiding a server room explaining everything. See, years ago, sometime in the 22nd century, a suspected meteor hit Earth, and apparently was infused with plenty of element that two rising leaders of the world wanted to harness. Of course they did, because it's business. The Terrans and the URE, raging a century-long war against each other, ravaged the world, whilst, unbeknownst to them, the hive mind birthed from corrupt element infusing and rooting within the Earth's crust, grew tenfold, manipulating nature itself, tidal locking the world to stop its rotation to give birth to Titans and its hive mind pillar, the King Titan. Meanwhile, a regretful war-torn Terran and URE made peace to commission two causes to save mankind: Project Genesis and the Engram Reconstruction Project. Project Genesis would divide the two sides in pursuit of the URE building of ARKs to help heal the poisoned Earth, and the Terran Federation to build a colony ship to find a planet with the same conditions as Earth. The Engram Reconstruction Project was to hold a matrix of every mind and personality of every single known human in Earth's history to allow them to repopulate worlds with clones and store on both ARKs and the Genesis ship. Fortunately, they had the bright idea to send both into orbit before corrupted element consumed the Earth, awaiting some way to sever the hive mind pillar connection before reseeding the world with the newly populated ARKs. And in some failsafe remained a light-speed portal link at the colony ship build site called Arat Prime that could connect Earth with the life vessel on course for an Earth-like planet, conclusively called Arat. In this same building, Helena found a floating artifact pulsating with energy that, when embracing, weakened and distorted her with visions of beasts and floating godlike beings. On their way back, though, the King Titan decided to rear his head and his army appeared to almost destroy them with an inch of their lives before Helena decided to place the artifact within her implant, causing the hive mind pillar to retreat with his army. And so Helena, in her weakened state, asked Mei Yin for one last task: to carry her to the Tomb of Ascension deep within the sunken forest, within which Helena, Dr. Manhattan-like, glowed with energy and vanished, poof, to ascend to Homo Deus, a highly evolved form of being humans before her had learned to become, with godlike powers to transcend and influence in a ghost-like state. It was in this state she discovered how to use the Engram reconstruction project to clone and revive Diana, to offer some solace for a really lonely Mei Yin, to eventually direct them towards a Rat Prime, all the way on the other side of Earth, whilst manipulating ARKs with her new knowledge to test survivors to be as battle-hardened as possible to be the next survivor, strong enough to tame Titans, construct mega mechs, and finally kill the King Titan and allow the Reseed Protocol to initiate, following her exact footsteps, to be the one who tries again. But the Reseed Protocol didn't quite go to plan. Well, not everywhere. Not only did Aberration and what remained of Rockwell land near a Rat Prime, but tales of other evolved form of beings protecting the superluminal link to the Genesis colony ship made way, tasking us to now follow in Mei Yin's and Diana's footsteps to discover what exactly happened on the other side of the world. And maybe we might be finding a way to use that light speed link ourselves, right? If you know, you know. Oh yeah, and I hear you lore nerds at the back saying, oh, but what about Mika? The thing is, Mika is part of a Bob's Tall Tales storyline that's been flowing this entire time, where Bob, literally a Bob that's called Bob that I guess represents us in some weird and wonderful way, I don't know, maybe he does, that's voiced by Carl Urban, love the guy, is telling stories to Mika on what we can assume must be on the planet Arat. And Mika, as it turns out to be, is the daughter of Santiago and Diana, but in a previous life, not the later cloned versions that we've been explaining so far. And if the trailers are anything to go by, we're going to get mocap cinematics of Helena describing what happened during the events of Lost Colony / Arat Prime to Mika on the planet of Arat. That's why I didn't include this until now, because it's confusing. The thing is, lore-wise, story-wise, progression-wise, we don't know who Mika is just yet, but we are about to. So I feel like I needed a little keynote there about who Mika is. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please do comment below and all that jazz. Hopefully you're all caught up. It's coming. It's round the corner. Get involved. I can't wait. Until the next one. My name's Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And as always, up.